Hi, I'm Mav Savage and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about sustainability at home and getting your kids involved. I'm lucky enough to have had the help of my 9-year-old boy, nearly 9-year-old boy, Nathan, in this as well, so expect him to pop up a couple of times. The reason I wanted to do this is that as a pagan, on a nature-based pagan path, one of the things that we talk about a lot at home, without even involving spirituality or religion, is having a respect for nature and a respect for the world around us that is not just human based. That is not just about city life and civilization and concrete. It's not just about making things easy for us, but recognizing that we are just one cog in a huge machine, and that as a cog in a machine, we've got to work with the rest of the machine to make sure it all works. If we don't, if we decide to just run along and do our own thing, then not only does the rest of the world suffer, but we suffer too. One of the things about being pagan, I think, on a nature-based pagan path anyway, is that you get to understand that at a deeper level, because whether you believe in nature spirits or whether you believe in the spirit of everything, everything having a spirit, every inanimate object having a spirit, or whether you just believe in universal energy, you do get to understand that there's a whole web of life in existence, and that we can't be selfish with it, that we have to look after it. But as well as having that deep sense of that, there's little everyday things that you can do. So this is all about the tiny little steps that you can make at home every day to become what me and Nathan call sustainability superheroes. Nathan,
Yeah.
can you show us your bird feeder?
Yeah.
Okay. So which one is your bird feeder?
My bird feeder is. Where is it? I think it is.
That's right, yeah.
This is my bird feeder that I made with my mum.
What's it made out of?
It's made out of, literally, we just used a bit of tape. An old milk bottle, stuck a stick through it, and then we just punctured a few holes, and then birds can literally just sit there. Oops. And they can just sit there and just nom away, or they can just sit there and eat from there, or they can just have a little rest if they're tired.
Mm-hmm.
So I personally think that it is delicious.
Mm-hmm. And why is using some what people would consider rubbish, why is that good for sustainability?
Because literally the environment, you can't, like, if you just put plastic in the wrong bin, or if you put it in the recycling, I mean, that's good, it's going somewhere to be another thing. But if you make it without putting in the bin, that's even better, because you're using your imagination, which is not always good. And another thing is, it's really fun.
Yeah, we did have fun with that, didn't we?
Yeah.
So recycling's good, but even that uses energy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So if you have to use plastic things,
The best thing to do is just make something out of them.
yeah, that's it. And have we had any birds on the bird feeder?
Yeah, a lot.
A lot, yeah. Can you remember?
There was this, once we hanged a big bag of walnuts.
Monkey nuts.
Monkey nuts, just here, and this squirrel, not even a bird, was just sat there like, nyam, nyam, nyam. He literally ran away with it.
It got the whole bag, didn't it?
He got the whole bag and ran away with it. I was like, it's like my neighbour Totoro.
And what other creatures have we had?
We've had great tits, blue tits, every kind of tits. Every kind of tits.
All right, that.
I should make a song out of that.
Don't have to put an adult rating on this video. What about we've had robins, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had loads of them.
Do you remember where the robins sit?
They usually sit there.
Yeah, they sit right on the stick, don't they?
Yeah.
And they sort of lean over.
And I've also seen the squirrels. You know, when you were in the living room doing your work, and I wanted in here to let Nigel out. squirrel were hanging off here
Oh, really?
with its tail. It was hanging off there, just eating them.
They're very athletic, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what else have you got in the garden that encourages wildlife?
Oh, sorry. Oh, it's down here. And I've also got this this bug hotel that I actually bought. Well, my mum bought it for me to, you know.
Yeah.
So
It is easy enough to make one of these, but this was in the reduced section at a discount supermarket. Oh, I think you had something in there then. I saw a spider in the bottom.
Spider. We got visitors.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I want my interview.
Hello, Mr. Spider. What did you think of the hotel?
He's not very talkative.
Oh, well.
We got another one over here. And ants and other spider. And what would you like to think of this? Yeah, they're not very talkative.
Yeah, the ants, they like the service. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's okay.
so it's
As long as we can stay away from the spiders, we're okay.
Yeah.
So why is it good to encourage bugs into the garden?
It's really good for the environment because, we might have even have some worms trying to get in there, and then just the spider's like, get out. So, because the worms are really good for the plants because they give them, I forgotten what the word is for it.
They make the soil more
Yeah.
nutritious, don't they?
Yeah.
And they turn it over as well.
Yeah, and also the bugs are great for feeding the birds,
Yeah.
and that they also basically just good for keeping like slugs away from the plants because when they spot them, there's like food.
Well, when we have.
Bullfly.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I also saw one earlier today that was yellow.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, right.
That's a good time of year for it as well.
Yep.
So yeah, when you've got bugs in the garden, they help pollinate the plants
Yeah.
and they help feed the birds. And like you say, with worms and slugs, can you think of something that comes into the garden that eats worms and slugs?
Hedgehogs.
Yeah.
And then the foxes come into the garden, the hedgehogs.
Well, foxes don't they can eat hedgehogs if
yeah.
they're very, very hungry, but normally a hedgehog is too much hard work for a fox. But yeah,
Yeah,
well,
they can't be bothered to just flip them over.
Yeah, it hurts them quite a lot, doesn't it? But yeah, but we do.
You would have to grab them by the head and just go, and your name is John Cena.
But
And I would just go
we
like
do.
this.
All right. But yeah, we get hedgehogs, don't we?
Yeah, it would have to be like.
And the hedgehogs eat the slugs sometimes, don't they? And
Yeah,
eat
and also,
worms and other bugs.
We've had a rabbit.
Have we had a rabbit?
Yeah, I remember a rabbit.
We've definitely had foxes as well, haven't we?
Because I remember seeing a rabbit just this morning.
And the foxes, they just wander through, don't they?
Yeah, just like, hey man. And we had this one time. We had the squirrel just on that bit of the fence over there.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
so it's squirrels.
And then the fox just went in, and then the squirrel looked at him and like it.
Yeah. So why is it good to have the garden at least partially wildlife friendly?
Because first of all, I love wildlife,
Yeah.
and first of all, I just like doing this.
You
I just like
watching
lying
it?
on the floor.
So it's good to watch.
Yeah, it's
but
good
also,
to watch.
what was
And-
here first?
Them.
Right.
Yeah, literally, we're the latecomers.
That's right. We're the invaders, aren't we?
Yeah, we're the invaders. We're space invaders. They're like the hero that goes beep boop, beep boop.
So we're taking over their space, and if we just make everything uninhabitable for them, eventually it just goes away, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then without them, we die.
Well, yeah, ultimately, yeah.
Yeah, because if they don't make more plants for us, well, we've just made ourselves extinct.
And on that cheery note, let's go.
It's time to end.
Bubble, bubble, toil and trouble. Oh, it's just a chicken carcass. That's right, we do try and use everything that we buy. We try and avoid food waste, and it's something that the kids really enjoy getting involved in because every week we go to food revival, which used to be the Real Junk Food Project, and it's basically an organisation that intercepts food from supermarkets and even some cafes and some food delivery services like HelloFresh and things like that, and they basically sell that food on. It's all good food that's still in date. It's usually just that the marketing material on it's changed, or it's one day off being in date, so they restock the shelves at the supermarket. So rather than that food going to landfill, they sell it on. It's all pay as you feel as well, so whoever wants some makes a donation. That helps keep the organisation going, and it means that tons, literally tons of food doesn't go into landfill. And the kids really enjoy it because they always get to see what treats haven't been left at the supermarket, and we always come back with things like donuts and biscuits and stuff, which is great as well because it's stuff that we might not be able to afford otherwise. What do you think about weeding, Nathan?
Well, I think that basically it's not very... I think that it's necessary to plant your own plants if they're in the way. But sometimes I just don't really like it because it's just killing plants. Because it's just getting rid of other plants that already have made a home there. And you could easily just walk somewhere else and find a clean spot. Because literally, we have the whole world to plant things on, but we have to just go over to weeds and pull them out. That's what gets on my nerves a bit. Because I just don't like killing plants.
And what about, like, when people call like dandelions weeds and stuff like that? What things are dandelions good for?
Well, they're good for the environment, for one, because like trees that give oxygen out.
Yeah.
And also another thing is that they're really good for bees because they can pollinate them. And then also dandelions are also very beautiful, so why would you want to pull them out? And another thing is that they're also when people pick them out, they're actually being mean to the environment. So I don't really like picking out flowers, but sometimes I mean like if you have to because well it's getting like up to there, then I would understand. And it wouldn't let you get out of your house. I mean, I would do the same thing.
So you think it's best to, if plants aren't doing any harm, then it's best to leave them be and not just consider them weeds?
Yeah, because no plant is a weed. They are all important at their own level. Like they all have a point.
And what's your favourite? What's your favourite plant that other people would call a weed?
Probably people call dandelions weeds, which I don't get because if you look at a flower, they like yellow flowers are just plants with petals and that sustain the environment, that basically just, I can't remember what the things inside of the flower are called, but it'll come back to me. But it's and even dandelions are flowers, and no plant is a weed. No plant is considered scum.
No, that's
well, it shouldn't be anyway. It shouldn't be.
And did you know you can eat dandelions?
I did.
Yeah. Do you want to eat some dandelions?
As long as they're edible.
Yeah, you don't look right excited about that. No. But we'll just leave them be then, yeah?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. Nathan's totally right in what he says about just letting things grow where possible. And up here, this is the top of our garden. Hello, Nigel. And although it's cut back a bit at the moment, sort of post-winter, there's still quite a lot growing wild, and we can't let it go completely riot because it has to be safe for the kids and the animals. But this here, this is a red currant which is self-seeded, and it's growing up between the flags, and at the moment I'm quite happy to let it do that because it's not damaging anything currently, no pun intended, and you know, it's got as much of a right to life as any other bit. Plus the berries all feed birds, the flowers before the berries will encourage insects, which will also encourage birds. So again, it's a really neat, easy way of keeping the ecosystem lively and varied in the garden. We've got other bits over here in the background. We've got brambles, And the brambles are an amazing food source for birds later in the year. And again, when they flower, they're just covered in bees and other flying insects. So they're absolutely amazing for feeding our pollinators. I mean, we talk about pollinators like all they live off is the fruit and veg that we grow on farms, but of course that's not their only food source. So anything you can do to encourage bees and butterflies is really good. At the moment, these rhododendrons are in flower, and they've had bees on and off them all day. Of course, now I'm videoing them, there's like barely any, but never mind. And then I've got some nettles here as well. Nettles, of course, they can be painful and sting quite a lot when you barge into them or you fall into them, which I have done face first before, not recommended. But if you're careful with them, use gloves when you're gathering them. You can use them to make an antihistamine tea. They're absolutely chock full of vitamin D and iron. You can use them like a green, you can cook them up like spinach. You can make wine out of them, you can make beer out of them. And again, it's just another way to encourage wildlife as well, because they attract all sorts of different insects. You quite often find aphids on nettles, which then encourages ladybirds. And ladybirds are a good thing to encourage if you're a gardener, because they eat the aphids, but they will eat the aphids on your other plants as well. So again, really useful, natural pest control, helps promote the ecosystem, and it stops you having to use costly chemicals, which, you know, they don't just cost money, but they're bad for the environment as well. So these are just a few little garden examples of how you can let things grow, not run riot, but just grow and be a little bit wild, and how that's so much better for the world around us. The other good thing about having the garden that way, a little bit wild and with plants that you might not normally find in a tidy garden, is apart from being great for the ecosystem and encouraging all sorts of wildlife, all sorts of creatures and other plants as well, of course, is that it becomes a talking point with the kids, and it gets them thinking about why you might want to do that. So I mean, obviously you've seen from Nathan talking, he's really quite passionate about environmentalism and looking after the environment, and he loves animals and he loves plants. And you know, as Ember gets bigger, she's the smallest, and she starts asking, well, why don't you pull the nettles out, why do you let some of the dandelions grow? Then hopefully it'll be a case of I can explain to her, well, the dandelions feed the bees, and then the bees, they stay strong and healthy and they multiply, and then that helps us because there's more bees to pollinate our crops, which means there's more food for us to eat. And it just means that I can explain that in more real terms, rather than environmentalism being an abstract concept that's something that happens on paper on big farms or on little eco farms, or something that you go out on school trips to see. Kids can see it happening and working all around them. They can see that when they plant the lavender, as we did the other day, that when it flowers, suddenly bees and butterflies are coming into the garden, and they can see that direct correlation to cause and effect with regards to the environment. And when they read stuff, you know, especially in tabloid media, and that says, you know, oh, you know, climate change is not that big a deal, we can't have that much of an impact. It really helps, I think, to get them to understand by seeing that those tiny little actions can have massive, great big consequences, good or bad. So, you know, we leave the lights on, we leave the water running, not only do we have less money, but we've got to think about the impact that's had on the environment. But we plant flowers and we look after our trees, and we keep the bird feeders full, and we have a garden that's a really good environment and a happy place, not just for us to be, but for other creatures to be as well. And I think that it's really important for them to see that humans are not the be all and end all, and although it's good we look after the environment to look after ourselves, it's important to realise that there is reward inherent in looking after other creatures, not just for selfish species reasons, not just for humanity, but because it's important to show compassion for other species. And I really hope that by encouraging like these little things, by making the bird feeders, by installing the bug hotels, by teaching them that weeds are only weeds when they're really where you don't want them, I'm really hoping that they will grow up really thinking about the impact that they have on their local environment and the wider environment as well. Alright, well I hope this has been interesting for some of you. I hope you've had some fun and enjoy the rest of the Beltane Festival. Thank you very much. Bye.